Alright guys, today we are going to learn adding and subtracting like fractions. So if you haven't done it already, go ahead and grab your notebook and flip over to your notes section. So you should see green on the left and your notes on the right. Go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so even though I'm not here right now, I'm going to have you guys still practicing the word just as if I was here. Alright, so we're going to run this just like we usually do. So here we go. Adding and subtracting like fractions. The one word we have today is like fractions. So like fractions, everyone. Okay, so like fractions, the book says, are fractions that have the same denominator. So that's pretty easy to remember. You guys probably already know it. So in your little box, go ahead and write down 1/4 and 3/4. And if you take a look, you might want to underline it, but I just have it bolded here, the 4s, showing that those denominators are what makes them like fractions. Alright, so let's go ahead and that's it for today when it comes to vocab. So let's go ahead and grab our book, piece of paper. All right, go ahead and let's start our examples together. And take your paper. Make sure your name, date, and period is up at the top. Okay, flip your book open to page 123. That's where our homework starts tonight, 123. Okay. If you don't have your paper out with your name on it, get your name on it. If you have your book out, go ahead and write down problem number 14. Problem 14 on 123 is 3/14 plus, and this is the first time we've seen this, adding rational numbers, which means, of course, positive and negative fractions. So 3/14 plus negative 5/14. Okay, so 3/14 plus negative 5/14. We're going to start off easy here, but here is what you need to know. Remember, of course, because they're like fractions, that's the easy part, right? Hopefully you remember that from elementary school. The denominators of 14, they just stay the same. So 14 is our denominator. Now, the other thing is remember, we've talked about this. If there's a negative on a fraction, it has the same value if that negative is on the 14, if it's out front, like it is here, or if it's on the top. So here's what you're going to do. And you don't necessarily have to do this unless you know that you still need some help with integers, but just remember how I had you circle the integers, 3 being a positive value. If I move the negative up, that gives the 5 a negative value. So at this point, all we do is we just combine the numerators, just like we would on a normal fraction. Of course, 3 and a negative 5, hopefully you guys know that by now, but if you want to still use the T-chart, you can. Okay, but actually what we're doing, right, is since they're on separate sides of the T-chart, we subtract. And 5 minus 3 is 2. Of course, that's a negative 2. And then here's what we're going to do. Don't forget, of course, you're always going to want to simplify it. So we can divide both top and bottom by 2. And we get a negative 1/7. And again, that negative in your answer could be on the numerator, out front, on the bottom, it doesn't matter. And that is our answer for problem 14. Okay, so Here we go. Go ahead and I want you to try out 18. Go ahead and try out 18 on your own, and afterwards we'll share. So I'll give you guys 30 seconds. Shouldn't take you too long. 30 seconds. Number 18, go. Okay. Go ahead, turn to your neighbor, and give you 30 seconds. Go ahead and share. Go. Okay, so hopefully you guys realized, okay, first of all, we are subtracting, but the denominator stays as 15. Remember, 2 is positive, okay, but the 7, remember, because it's subtraction, it gives us a negative value. All right, so hopefully you remember that. And again, you could build a t-chart if you want, but 2 minus 7 ends up giving us a negative 5 on our numerator. So we have negative 5/15, and of course we can reduce both top and bottom by 5, and we get a negative 1/3. And there's our answer for 18. So check it, make corrections if you did something wrong there. Okay, I want to do one more type of problem with you guys on this lesson. So here's what I want you to do. Actually, go ahead and flip over one page to 124. And let's take a look at problem 34. Problem 34. So page 124, problem 34. All right, so one of the longer problems on your homework tonight. That's not a word problem, that is. So number 34 is negative 2 9/10 plus, and then we have another negative 9 9/10 plus, and then negative 6 9/10. Okay, on this problem, the first thing I realize is they're all negatives, which means we're just going to be adding more and more negatives. So if you think back to like our integer tile, integer counter activity we had, remember you just add on 2 negatives, add on another 3 negatives, it's a total of 5 negatives. All right, so it's just all negative, so our answer is going to be negative, of course. So the funny thing is, because they're all negatives, we're just going to add them all up, and it's just going to be a negative value at the end. So what I'm going to worry about instead is I'm going to worry about the mixed numbers. Now, a lot of times the way I like doing it is when the denominators are not the same, a lot of times what I'll do is I like changing all of them to improper fractions before we add. However, since they all have common denominators, they're all like fractions, I think the best way to do this is let's just go ahead and add up all of our fraction parts. So we have 9/10 plus 9/10 plus 9/10. So if I do that, I'm going to end up, of course, with a denominator of 10. Okay, and I could just say 9 plus 9 plus 9, or of course 9 times 3, which gives us 27/10. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I can then add the whole numbers. So we have 2, 9, and 6. So 2 and 9 is 11, and 11 plus 6 is 17. Okay, so now here's what I'm going to do. Okay, this really isn't a mixed number. Okay, at least it's because we have a whole number, yes, but we have an improper fraction. So here's what we're going to do. To be able to simplify this, or in terms of having the correct answer, what we're going to do is we're going to change this to a mixed number. Okay, so we're just kind of ignoring the 17 for a second. And so bottom and the top, right? So 10 and 27. So 10 goes into 27, of course, 2 times. That would give us 20 with a remainder of 7. So our fraction part of this mixed number here is 2 and 7/10. So what we have is we have 17 whole, and we have another 2 and 7/10. So of course the 17 plus the 2 gives us the 19 whole with the 7/10. So once I do that, don't forget, right? I just said at the very beginning, we're adding all negative, so our answer would be negative 19 and 7/10. Okay, so here we go. Here's the one I want you guys to try. I want you to try, actually, I want you to flip back over to 123. And it's a little shorter problem than I just did, but go ahead and do problem number 22. Similar, a little smaller, a little shorter for you guys. So number 22 on page 123. All right, I'll give you guys a minute to try that out. Okay, go. Okay. All right, so 30 seconds. Go ahead and turn to your neighbor and share your answer. Okay, 30 seconds. Go. Okay, so let's check this out. Hopefully what you did notice is, it's been a little while since we've seen this, but we have a double negative here. So after you eliminate the double negative with a big plus sign, it's basically just an addition problem. So what we're going to do is if we go ahead with these mixed numbers and just add our two fractions here, we end up with 12 plus 10, right, which is 22/13. If I add the whole numbers, 2 plus 7, of course we get 9. And we're in the same situation that we were in up here. So we're going to go ahead and convert our improper fraction here to a mixed number. So with bottom and the top, 13 into 22. All right, 13 times 2 is 26. That'd be too big, so it goes in one time. So we go ahead and subtract, and probably most of you know that without doing the borrowing, but we end up with 9. So we have 1 and 9/13. And so don't you have to be very careful. One of the common mistakes is just getting into the problem and forgetting about your 9 and having that as your answer. So be careful. So we have 1 and 9/13, right? But we can't forget the 9. So 1 plus this other 9 whole is a total of 10, and then 9/13. 10 and 9/13. Okay, so that should be it. Don't forget that this is the one thing I did want to tell you and remind you guys about. Okay, don't if you take a look really quickly at problem 24, those are all the same. It's just evaluating the variable expressions 24 through 27. Just make sure before or when you put in the numbers for the variables, don't forget, put them in parentheses. All right. Other than that, you guys should be all right.